Welcome back to The Price of Business. I'm your host, Kevin Price, talking to you about you and your business. I've got Craig Bergman on. He's president of Patriots for Christ. Interesting organization. Certainly an interesting time for people who are conservatives and Christians and believe in less government and certainly see the role of government different from what is the conventional paradigm today. Craig's background is really unique. He was a senior staffer for Ron Paul. What did you do for Ron Paul, Craig?
I was political director on the 2007-2008 political campaign, worked in a multitude of states. I was also a temporary state director up in Alaska. Yes, Ron Paul sent me to Alaska in February. It was so cold, I cannot tell you.
Yikes. Yeah, I tell you, that sounds pretty brutal. So tell me a little bit about the organization. When did you start it?
Well, Patriots for Christ came out of about 2010 meetings after the Tea Party had started, after we had our great electoral success in 2010. A number of us began to notice the division within the Tea Party of people who did not understand natural law, self-evident truths, and the fact that our rights are an endowment from our Father Creator in heaven. And they began to just talk about what I like to say are the economic issues as if they exist in a moral vacuum. And so we thought, this really is not where we wanted to go. And of course, I came out of the evangelical movement. I was with the Christian Coalition. I was a state chair in Iowa for 2 years. And I've worked with Focus on the Family and a number of the other groups, and trying to get those folks to understand sound monetary policy, fractional reserve banking, supply-side economics, CRA. You just can't penetrate that, even though Jesus talked about money.
Craig, I'm sorry, but I really want to have a conversation with you, and so this isn't going to be a 6 or 7 minute monologue. So catch your breath every once in a while so I can actually dialogue with you if you don't mind, okay?
Okay, no problem.
I would appreciate it.
I get just a few minutes. So.
Yeah, well, we got about a 7-minute interview, so I want to make sure we cover as much as we can in that time frame. And so there is a morality to every single aspect of our life, including economics. And, of course, what's happening today is the political theft of this generation from people who have yet to be born. $16.5 trillion as of today. And they're literally, and this shows you why democracy doesn't work. This shows you why the founders wanted a republic and not a democracy. We are literally stealing from people who aren't even born in order to fuel government today because it's being done by people who can vote at the expense of those who aren't even created yet, who will vote generations from now.
Well, you're entirely correct. That is the situation, and that has been the death of every republic and every form of government that has tried self-government, because the prerequisite of self-government is self-control, and this generation and the one before it have not exercised self-restraint and self-control. Therefore, they are unworthy of self-government, and that is the result. It is inevitable.
Yeah, Alexis de Tocqueville put it best. And in fact, we only hear the first part of the quote. America is great because Americans are good. We always hear that. We've heard that, in history, but the rest of that quote says, if Americans cease to be good, America will cease to be great, and that's exactly what's happened today.
You're entirely correct. We see that on every front, and it starts with the moral front. When you abandon natural law for civil law, your society is done. It cannot sustain itself. We are on an inevitable crash. This $16 trillion will never be repaid. We are headed for a default. We are headed for a reset. Now, all the assets will be there. The buildings will be there. The roads will be there. We may not have the infrastructure to repair them. It may all end up looking like Detroit or some abandoned towns in the former Soviet Union. But some form of government will exist, and some people yet unborn will be subject to that government. All right,
so you have a very negative view on turning this around. So you think it's impossible?
Oh yes, I believe it is inevitable that we are heading for this sort of crash.
Yeah.
The only thing we can do is mitigate our damages. We have lost control of the vehicle on the road in icy weather. Now we are either going to all die or we're going to very judiciously apply the brakes, counter-steer, apply the brakes, counter-steer, and only dent the fender and radiator when we hit the ditch. But we're headed there.
Yeah, I think you're probably right, and I hate to talk that way. You know, I came to...
I do too.
I got involved in politics really for the first time seriously in 1980. I was a regional coordinator for Students for Reagan while in college. My first vote, he embodied optimism. I'm not saying he was certainly not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but he changed the debate in this country. We would have gotten where we are today a lot quicker if Reagan had not been president for 8 years. I'm absolutely convinced of that. But I think it's pretty dire too, and I'm getting pretty depressed by it. And in fact, what's interesting now is you hear people like Rush Limbaugh, who's always postured himself as perennially optimistic no matter what was going on. He doesn't sound that way anymore, and that's the same now with a lot of other conservative talk show hosts.
No, you're exactly right. I always tell people on my show, I say, folks, got some more bad news for you, but like Jack Kemp, my mentor, said, I didn't start with Reagan. I might be a little younger than you. I started with Jack Kemp as a college Republican, and he always said, I've read the book, we win in the end. And so that's just, we're called as Christians.
I'm laughing because you know where we are in the 11th hour, according to the book.
Yeah, this is, I would quote, from my generation, the lyric from Iron Maiden, it's 2 minutes to midnight.
2 minutes to midnight. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and Jack Kemp, by the way, one of my very first friends in politics was Jack Kemp. He actually came to my political rescue once in 1980 because of my involvement with Students for Reagan, because I took some slack for some of my activities, and he went to my defense very eloquently and powerfully, and even contacted the dean of my school on my behalf. I went to a very conservative Christian school, and people made some false accusations about me. Jack Kemp actually called my dean and came to my defense. I loved cool. The great Jack Kemp, incredibly approachable, great American. I called him a passionate pragmatist, though. His conservatism was different, as you well know. I think you probably lean significantly to the right of Jack Kemp, but he loved America, incredibly optimistic, and one of the most positive people I've ever met.
Well, actually, my politics fundamentally lean to the right of his because I am a true classic liberal, and I understand the human nature of humanity, that it is a fallen nature. So I'm more pessimistic that way. But I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing with this John Boehner project if I didn't believe that the mitigation we're capable of doing is as significantly different from a fender bender as from the car blowing up and catching on fire and killing everyone on board.
Got to wrap it up, so I need to know, what are you trying to do to John Boehner, and how can I help?
Well, number one, we've just had a meeting down in his district with over 100 Tea Party leaders, personhood leaders, right-to-life leaders, pastors, church leaders.
Hey, I said I got about a minute. I want to know what you want us to do. I don't want to know what you've done.
What you want to do is stay tuned. Check us out on patriotsforchrist.com and nomorewimpouts.com, and we will have a new pack and a new website up very soon that will be from the Ohio people, not some out-of-state national group folks, and we will tell you where you can help donate to this cause, how you can get involved, how you can help make phone calls into the district, how we can bring all the national conservatives in America in one army against this man who has the entire power of the purse and refuses to use it.
All right. Craig Bergman, he's with Patriots for Christ. I'm going to give one of the two websites. So let me just give the nomorewimpouts.com. Nomorewimpouts.com. Make sure you check that out. Thanks for being with us, Craig.
Thank you very much.
All right. I hope everyone has a great rest of the day. I want to encourage you, though, to stay tuned for more right here on this great station.